All right, I think we should start. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm honored to, like I said, I'm honored to have conduct this webinar today. So today, mainly the webinar is for, I would like if I can interact and get to know, the thoughts and all that, but assuming that we have parents who are, mothers and fathers of 14, 13, and 15-year-old who are planning to sit for their board exams maybe in 2 to 3 years' time. Okay, so basically choosing what to do, choosing the education, all that aside, as a parent of a student, a parent of a child who wants to sit for the board exams, how a parent should support, what are the support a student expect, a student point of view, those are the main areas that we will be covering today. So anyway, a student should set any board exam where it is a world recognized qualification. We always we know that. So we will talk about the parents' point of view. Like as a parent, how should I support? What should I know for my child to sit for the exams? Those are the things that we are going to discuss. So yes, let me share my screen. Can you see what I'm sharing, Bhavani?
Fine, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So these are usually we have a lot of webinars. We even in YouTube, even in we have loads of webinars conducted on a daily basis in different platforms in telling the students, telling the the student who is sitting for IGCSE next year or in 2 years how to prepare. But more than focusing on the child, of course we need to tell them, and they get a lot of opportunities to talk to their mentors, to talk to their tutors, to understand. Even in school they speak to their teachers. A lot of teachers give them guidance on a daily basis. But as a parent also we need to know what their mentality is, what type of how many subjects, and what's this how do they organize their studies. Is it that they have to study every day? They sit for about maybe 7 to 9 subjects according to their interest. So should they study all 7 to 9 subjects a day? How are they going to organize these things? These are the main areas. So I welcome all the parents here to unmute, or maybe you can drop any questions or queries while the webinar is going on. Please drop any questions. We will try to discuss and make this webinar as interactive and productive as much as possible. Okay, we will be learning, like I said, we will be learning identifying learning techniques and how to create a schedule to study, how to make it realistic, the goals, what are the active learning tactics, which does each, like individually, each student have different learning tactics. As a parent, how I should identify them and how should I support them, and how do they take notes if there are students. I hope there are students also seated. If there are students, how do I take effective note taking? Like what are the areas that I need to focus more on, and how to utilize the resources? And as parents, what are the resources we need to give them? What type of healthy study habits? All these we are going to learn. And at the end, how do we assess ourselves? Like how do we keep a track on a weekly basis or a monthly basis if my child is on track, if the student is taking the right path? So those are the areas that we will be covering today. Starting with starting with learning techniques. So I'm sure I'm not going to use these technical terms. I'm just going to make it very simple. Learning techniques are different methods of learning. For an example, if a student sits in a class and I lecture now, like we are doing, maybe it's an online class or an offline class, sitting in a classroom. Some students just listen to the lecture and they know what to write. Okay. Some students, they have to visualize it. They need to write some, they need to see it. They are called visual learners. So they look at it and learn. Sometimes they need to experience it. For an example, science. Through experiments, they understand better. Some they have to write the notes and keep revising the notes. So there are different learning techniques for each student. Some students, I remember when I was small, my mother used to say, wake up in the morning, around 4 o'clock and memorize the tables, do this. But it never worked for me. I always wanted to study in the evening. So there are different learning techniques that a child, so individually they are different. We need to accept our child's, method of learning. We cannot, force them, okay, this is how you need to do it, this is the best way of studying. That is not the way we need to, tell them. They have to identify, of course, when you study for the board exams, the child will identify when they talk to like maybe 7 to 9 tutors. So each tutor, they will understand different learning techniques. They will teach different learning methods. So they will identify themselves like how to do. As parents, we need to support them. Okay. And we have to support them in making effective study without, to make it effective study without it is important to have a good posture. That is very important. That why I put this in the first slide is a good posture means some students, I'm not saying you have to take a table and always sit on the chair and study. It's not that. It's not that what I meant by posture here. They have to be comfortable the way they study. What, even maybe 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 hours of study. Their posture, their way of studying makes a big impact on how they get it, the grasping knowledge. So it can be a revision, or it can be listening to a recording. It can be an online session. They have to be comfortable. When you are having an online session, when we start classes, when a teacher, now when I'm doing the classes, I expect my student to, sit and take notes, and that is how we interact. And I'm sure the student also expects the same from me. I can't be, as a tutor, I can't be, leaning against my sofa. That's not the way. So then the student will also not show any interest in studying. The same way, the student will also have to have a good posture, which will be very healthy afterwards. And also a study-friendly environment. I would love to hear your comments and, feedback on what this study-friendly environment is. But it's okay. Let us just discuss further. So study-friendly environment, there are lots of, this has a very broad explanation. What is this study-friendly environment? For one example, if I am seated in a, the student has to, before they start studying, their mind should be ready. They have to mentally be prepared. Okay, I'm going to study maths today and I'm going to learn this today. If they have set their mind, and sometimes if the parent or the tutor says, no, you have to study, if they are 100% not in that, they are not going to study, they're not going to learn 100%. Okay. So they have to be mentally prepared. And as parents, when they are ready to study, when they give that 2 hours or 3 hours of a day to study, as parents, as adults, it is our duty to make the environment a study-friendly environment. That is less noise, maybe the television or anything. Of course, you have, if you all are watching, if there are adults who are watching those, they have to have a separate area to sit, and they should be able to focus, and less distraction. What do you mean by distraction? Of course, there are some small children around, they might come, and so give them that 100% attention, 100% study friendly environment. So even if they study for half an hour or 30 minutes, they give that 100% focus on their study. This really helps. In my teaching experience, many teaching experience, after you study, when you sit and revise for 30 minutes with 100% mentally, when you are set, that carries a long way. Even after 10 years, you remember what you've studied. So that little time, if you can give that, effective environment, it will be very helpful. The student can't be, as a child, the child can't be fighting. I mean, They can't be saying, okay, give me this, it's too distracted. They can't be saying that. As parents, it is our duty to give that to them. And adopt active learning techniques. As a maths tutor, when we ask them to memorize the tables, or now they use the scientific calculator for board exams, but before grade 8, when they before they start using the calculator, when we ask them to memorize the tables, there are different ways of memorizing. Some students don't memorize, they learn it through practice. When they know 8 times 9, they don't memorize, but it just with practice they know what they are saying. Okay. And also some they study while walking, they memorize while walking. So these you should not compare with another student. Like I told you, they are individually different. So we need to understand their, as a student, as a child, as our child, we should understand their learning techniques and always support with their decision and their learning techniques that they want to follow. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, can I go ahead? Yes. Okay, create a study schedule. Like, what do you mean by schedule? So if the mother says, okay, you have to study from 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, and the student is not ready, do you think that study schedule will be effective? I don't think. We have to give 90% the students, you have to see if they are comfortable at that time. If they are coming after school and if they want to rest for 1 hour, give them that rest and then let them study. Revise what they do. If they want to, talk to their friends or go out to do some sport activities, let them do and then come and study. When you make a study schedule, it should be a mutual timing where you and your child discuss and understand. It's not that the mother or the parent makes the schedule and put it up the board. Okay, this is your timetable, you have to follow this. No, it should be, especially when they sit for the board exams. We are talking about 13, 14, 15-year-old children. Of course, you have to give them the, freedom of choosing what they like, what they have to do. Okay, and discuss, always open up with them, make a mutual understanding, and then come up with a plan. Then you will understand the child better, and the child is also ready to study. Maybe for 1 or 2 weeks, it's going to be hard, just to remind, okay, why don't you say it? Why don't you remind? But then they get used to it. They get used to that schedule and they continue with that, and you will definitely see better results there. And like I told you, the child's willingness, mentally being prepared, is very, very important. If the child is not ready, say the child's friends are coming over, or your relatives are coming over, or you have a get together, you can't expect the child to mentally be prepared to study, right? It's not practical. You have to give them that freedom as well. So at that time, you should be able to adapt and change the schedule and make sure that the child is mentally ready for them to sit and do their lessons. Okay, set realistic goals. What do you mean by realistic goals? Setting goals and setting realistic goals are two different things. We can set a lot of goals, loads of goals, but are they realistic? Are they able to do it? Okay, that is how we need to set our goals. Like, okay, was it my internet?
Yes, I mean, I think we lost you for a second, but you're back. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sure.
Let me check my internet. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Is it, can you see this?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Sorry. So I stopped in realistic goals. So we can give them many goals. Maybe we can give them, okay, you have to finish the science syllabus, the 2 year syllabus in 6 months and sit for the exam in the 9th month. Is it realistic? Is it possible to do? You have to do 9 subjects in next 1 year. I'm not saying it's not possible. It is possible, but like I told you, they are individually different. Their learning techniques are different. They are individually different. According to the child's capabilities, how they can take it, yes, you can set goals, but you need to see whether they are realistic, whether the child can do it. It's very important to understand that. Okay. And when you choose a board exam, we don't know the exam. Like I'm talking generally, but they are going to sit for an exam in maybe 2 or 3 years. You can start now. Now, what we spoke before, planning a schedule, creating a study schedule, and setting small goals rather than giving, okay, you have to take 10 A's or 9 A's or 8 A's after 2 years. Yes, that is a goal. That can be a realistic goal. Students can do that according to the student capabilities, but it's rather better you give small goals. In this term exam, next 3 months, you need to cover this. You have to take 60%. These are realistic goals, which are small. You gradually, step by step, you be with this child and then you improve the child. They are small. Or you can break it further down, further into smaller goals, like monthly test, you have to take 9 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. Second monthly test, you have to take 7. 8th monthly test, you have to take 7.5. You have to set small goals. So as parents, what we like, we don't do, but some of the parents, what they think is you start with the 2 year program. Usually a board exam for 15-year-old is a 2 year program. You wait for 1.5, maybe 1 year and 8 months, and then say, oh, my child is weak. What can I do? Classes and classes and classes. You pressurize that child so much. You start now, then waiting for the last few months. Start now. Give them small goals. Let them achieve it. They are wonderful children. The children definitely love the parent. They are definitely going to listen what the parent is going to say. So talk to them nicely. Every child has a beautiful way of thinking. We need to understand and highlight and do it. It's our child. We need to know what is best for the child, and at the same time, we need to make sure that they are also interested in what we are setting for them. Okay, and this is especially for the students. If the students are here, effective note taking, which I have seen like in the past 15 years, especially in this, O-level, this board exam students, they lack in this note taking. They lack in this note taking. And why I decided to tell this to the parent is sometimes the students don't know how to take effective notes. So if the parent also should understand how I need to support the child to make effective notes. Okay, effective notes doesn't mean that you have to write pages and pages and pages. No, it's not that. When it comes to maths, the main areas. When it comes to biology, you put the star in a different color, the main areas in a different color in a highlighted way, where the students can, run through at the end of the day. If you do 7 subjects, you have notes. Maybe the teacher gives notes in school, or you have done about 10 questions for a day in maths, but you have the highlighted points written in a corner. So you just have to run through it. Each subject take maybe 5 to 10 minutes, which, registered. And some students, this is like, I've taught like more than 1,000 students in my these couple of years. When they write, they remember well. So sometimes they say, no, I'll take a screenshot. When I teach them, I'll take a screenshot. No, write. You write it. Sometimes they don't sit and learn, but when they write at that time, it gets registered. It's very important they take notes. It's, now they give printed printed copies, all that, but still you write the short notes in a corner of the worksheet or the tunes or the notes in the book, which will really help remembering these points. Yeah, and then utilize resources. What are these resources? The best resource we have is our tutor, our teacher. Okay, try to understand. So when we were doing the teacher training, before I became a teacher, I'll just tell you what I learned in my 4th year. What my lecturer told was, for you to become a good teacher, you have to have 3 points with your students. Have these 3, can I make sure that your student does these 3 points? They have a lot of things, but this, I really love this point. Number 1, make sure the student's notes, the short notes or the points are clear and understood. Okay, that was point 1. Make sure before you leave the class, make sure the child has everything written. Number 2, don't go to the next step if the child has any question in the previous. Number 3, have a good rapport. Don't let the child fear you. As a tutor, don't let the child fear you. Let them ask questions. If a student asks a question, and if we say, oh, how silly that question is, the student is not going to ask that question again. You have to open. They should be able to ask any type of question. It can be silly. It can be, a 2nd grade question or a 3rd grade question. It's okay. Let them ask. Why not? The same thing applies with the parent. Let them ask questions. It's okay. Let them ask questions. So make these resources very strong, the tutor, the parent. And also now, not like back in nowadays, now we have, you type what you have to learn, algebra, expressions, how to find. You have a lot of resources. Use them. Don't wait for the tutors to come. You find it. Now this era is a lot of with internet, and we have all the resources in the internet. Use them. But yes, as a parent, for the student, you have to give them a screen time. And now the lessons are on screen, but yes, screen time, and let them take the maximum use of the technology we have in a positive way. Okay, and you can give that. Tahani, do we have any questions? Maybe they can write it on chat if necessary. Okay, and then the healthy study habits. What do you mean by healthy study habits? We call this a PET. We usually, when we study, when we learn, they call it as a PET. That is posture, environment, and the study. The time of the study. How you sit for the study. We don't say, okay, this is the posture. You have to have a chair. The chair should have this type of, leaning angle. You have to have a table. You have to have this. No, your comfortable study posture. That doesn't mean that you have to sleep and, not in a proper way. Of course, sit in a proper posture. Have your notes. If you are a visual, like we learned in the first slide, after you understand the child's learning technique, if it is a visual learner, let me tell you this thing. If it is a visual learner, have a board in front of the table and have the sticky notes written, the formulas, the whatever you need, sticky notes. You look at it every day and you get used to it, right? That is also a visual learner. Visual doesn't mean that you have to have beautiful images, colorful images. It's not that. You see it every day and you learn. Okay, so that is the P, the posture. E is the environment. Like I told, you have to give us healthy environment and a study-friendly environment. And the time of the study. The time should be, the child should be comfortable with the time. Some are early morning learners. They learn around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and they really do well. Some they study in the evening just after school. Some they study in the night, but I of course don't recommend late night study, but it depends. You all can decide on that. So this is the healthy study habit, which is called the PET, P-E-T, posture, environment, and the time. That's the summary of what we did. Okay. Now, other than what we learned, Tahani, it's okay, right? I can go ahead. Yeah, okay. So this is all out of, you know, how we should support, how we should, you know, support a board exam student, how we need to do. So now the next is what, you know, how are we going to support them mentally? They go through stress. We don't know what is going through. There are peer pressure. There are a lot of issues in school also. So when they come, I mean, I'm not saying issues, some certain things trouble them. So as parents, as tutors, how are they going to manage stress, right? So they study about 7 to 9 subjects. They have to sit for all in 2 years. As parents, if you give them motivation, like rather than pushing, always say, yeah, you're good. You can do this. I know you can do. What can we do to support you? What can we do? Rather than you have to study and take more marks, what can we do to support you to take more marks? That should be the approach. Put the parent should be an important character, important figure in their study life. Everything should be a parent. What can we do to support you to get more marks? You know, those are the things you need to give them. These are just few words how you put it, but it makes a big impact on the child, right? They are able to manage it, and always stay positive and motivated. So once one of my students told me, I got 97 marks and I'm so happy about it. I said, yeah, really, I'm so happy. Congratulations. So how is it and all that, I asked. So and then, but I'm sad. Why? Because when I said 97, more like they were worried about what happened to the 3 marks than being happy for the 97. Okay, where did you lose the 3? Why did you do silly mistakes? Why didn't you write this? So I don't think that is a positive approach. She has taken 97 marks, right? So you need to keep them motivated and positive. It's okay. It's a A star actually. So you need to support them and motivate them. And the words, the how we approach makes a big impact on the child. And always adapt and adjust. Let's say when they have sports, especially when they are a sports figure, when they do a lot of sports, I mean, not everybody can do sports. It's a talent, right? When they are involved in these sports, of course, we need to adapt and adjust on their study schedule. We can't say, okay, even if you go for a match, even if you fall, no, you have to study. Your 2 hours of study you have to do. Not that. We have to adapt and adjust. Okay, you're going for a match today. Let's cover this next time. Let's do some additional work. Or I will take this for you. I will keep some worksheets ready for you so that you won't miss it up. It's not, we expect a lot of things from the students, from our child, and we should be able to give our best as well for the student to, you know, master or show their skills there. And like I told, you have to utilize technology. It differs, like those are personally different families have different views on taking technology. So according to your views, you have to give them a screen time. And now we need to understand as parents, we are 10, 15 years back, it was not the same, but now everything is on technology. All the studies, the notes, the videos, everything is on technology. So that is a very effective way of studying. So we also should be able to adapt and understand what type of learning techniques are there in this era. And as parents, we also should be able to adapt to those systems. Okay, this is the main area and where the parents are really waiting. Okay, my child did my mock exam. I'm waiting for the marks. When are you getting your marks? When are you getting? Every day after the child comes after school, did you get your marks? Did you get for maths? Did you get? Even I'm the same. I also ask the same from my student, from my son. So how they mock exam, I don't mean the mock. What I meant by mock exam is not the exam that you have 3 months before the board exam. Mock is what you practice. Anything, maybe every week, every month, every 2-3 months, you practice some exams, right? Some practice questions, whatever they give. So you have to practice these mock exams. Don't wait for the school or the tutor to give. You take some, you know, if you do you know, in maths, if you do algebra, when you finish the algebra chapter, take some additional questions and do. Evaluate yourselves. This is especially for the students. Evaluate yourself. See whether you have understood everything and go ahead. And test taking strategies. Understanding the concept and how you present that in the paper are two different things. So understand where you need to. This is at the end of the second year, when you finish, like maybe 2 to 3 months in before the exam, the tutors will definitely help you with this. Where you need to write, what are the steps you need to write for you to get that mark, a bullseye. Okay, so for that you need to understand, for you, if you have those notes taking, the effective notes taking, this is not going to be hard. You don't have to wait for 2 years to understand how to write in a test if you have the notes in place. And like I told, self-assessment and reflection. You assess yourself after each chapter and reflect on it. Don't get disheartened if you get less marks. Keep your child motivated. See what are the areas you can, you know, improve with your child and all that. So that's how you need to go about it. And after every exam, let the child do a post review and understand the areas that he has, you know, he needs more improvement. As parents, be with them and help them to achieve this journey or for 2 years. Okay, and yeah, that's it from my end. So finally, what I would like to say is that students, children are beautiful. They are children. So be with them, be a pillar for them, motivate them, and yeah, they should be able to achieve anything if you are with them as parents. Thank you. Thanks, Tahani.
Thank you very much, Fairooza. Over to Mr. Brenton, if we have any questions or if the parents would like to ask anything from Fairooza. We have a few minutes, so. Okay, Fairooza, we have a question. How do I help with results from mock exams?
Okay, assuming, I mean, I would like to know if you meant by mock exam, because usually we are very familiar with this mock, the exam that we have 3 months before the board exam. Is it that, or the test exams we have every 3 months? Which exam are we talking about? Okay, the mock exam. Mock exam, if they sit for the May-June examination, mock exams are held in January or February. Usually it's second week of January. So when we sit for the mock exams, usually we complete the syllabus. Mock exams are not held if the syllabus is not completed. We don't keep, as board exams tutors who cater students for board exams, we have to complete the syllabus before the mock exam. So after that, what we need to focus is two things. As tutors, we need to focus on two things. Whether the child has understood all the concepts, but that is too late for the tutor to understand that, because we have about 6 exams before the mock exams. So we should be able to identify, but still it's not too late. If the child has not understood the concept there, we have to revise that concept in the next 6 months. And we have to focus on exam style questions. So for the 1 year and 6 months, what we usually do is, I can share a lesson plan. If I have time, I have to look for it. So 1 year and 6 months, what we usually focus is concept, the accuracy of the answer, and whether they have understood. Only after the mock exam, we focus on how to answer and how to, for the mock exam, we train them how to attempt and write the paper. So after the mock exam, we still have 6 months. It's not late. 6 months, we have like 180 days there. So we basically focus on concept, which is very less, but we focus more on the exam, which usually children do well after the mock. Did I answer that question, Tani? Yeah, right?
Any more questions from the parents? Do we have a question incoming? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions, Mr. Brenton? I was just running through, I was trying to look for a video. If you have access to our Tutopiya page in Facebook, you will see there is a student. We conducted mock exam from Tutopiya, and after that he got really less marks for that. And then we had a plan for him, and we trained him for 48 some classes, and he was very happy with he got a B. He actually got F for mock, and he really tried hard. It was 95% from the student and the parent, and the tutors also did their best, and he got a B. If I can share, if I find that video, I'll definitely share it with you. He was so happy, and yeah, I'll just try to. Yeah, meanwhile, do we have any questions?
We have many more questions? Okay, at first, I think we have a question incoming.
Yes, notes taking. Okay. For an example, let me see. Okay. I was not prepared to show one, but let me see. I think I have something.
Yeah, so the question is, how should I be effective in note taking? What notes or points to jot down? So, yeah.
Okay, I will first show you. Yeah. Are you able to see this?
Yes, yes. Can see your screen.
Okay. One of my students' papers, which I had marked, which was also, this is paper 1 or paper 2? This is paper 1. Okay, paper 1 maths. So here, right, this is a paper. Okay, this particular question, when I discussed why, I mean, I don't think about the subject matter. I know not all of them will understand this, but let's say this particular question the child has not tried. Okay, so the reason is she doesn't know. I mean, when it is subtraction, you need to divide. Okay, so what we expect is, like I told you, different students have different ways of taking notes. But what the student can do is put a star here, subtract, divide. So if you have to divide, you have to subtract. I mean, sorry, if you have logarithm to subtract, you need to divide it. Just as so that point, the child has forgotten. Okay, so the child has been trying to subtract this but couldn't. But actually, when it is log, you need to divide them. So just a note like that, you know, that is one thing. And also when we have something like this, let's say we have a question here, right? And when we reduce the value of A, now this is called the A. When we reduce the value of A reduce, power increase. So like this, very short notes. So at the end, no, not like this. I can't write it straight. A increase, power decrease, something like this. If you write, at the end of the day, you have a set of notes like in your book, like written down, maybe 4 to 5 points. So that will really help. You know, that's one way of taking it. So now this student I showed you also, she has lost, I mean, she has got good marks, 56 out of 70 here. But there are few areas that she should have definitely improved. For some reason, because of the concept, she has lost a lot of marks there. Was that helpful, Mr. Branton? So that's for maths. So I know there are lots of notes for biology and physics. Biology we wrote, but my point is biology you write, you know, about 3 pages, we'll say, for a day. So we can't expect the child, I mean, not expect, like child can summarize it in a corner. So, and understand what they really mean there. Was that okay, Tahani?
Yes, thank you. think summarizing and highlighting the key points is
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah. Some students have a habit of highlighting the key points also. That is a way of writing. That is that student's way. So we have to let the student decide what he or she is comfortable with.
Right. I think Mr. Brenton has confirmed that we are all good. So which means I hope we can conclude this session. So Fairooza, thank you so much for taking your time to take us and sharing your valuable experience with practical examples. I hope the parents found it beneficial as well. And for those who couldn't join, we are happy. Mr. Brenton will be sharing the recording. And if you have any questions about, if you want to ask more questions, or if you have anything apart from that, you can always reach out to me through Mr. Brenton, and we are happy to answer those. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Mr. Brenton, especially for helping and help us organize this. Need to mention that as well. So yeah, let's wind up for the day. Hope you have a good weekend.
Thanks, Tahani. Thanks, Mr. Brenton. See you.